I think you guys are in trouble. So I've had more sleep last night than I have had in the whole Crushing It event. And this is coffee number 3. I've been on my rebounder. I've been in the hot tub. I've done my weights. So you guys are in trouble this morning, okay? But I want to do something really cool that I've never done before. I want to. It might only take 6 minutes, okay? But I need your kind of permission for it. I want to give you a little baby masterclass. It sounds arrogant, but I am a little bit, to show you how to inspire your right fit audience and elevate them into your right fit clients. Okay, is anybody keen to be an experiment on that one? Okay, and it's very genuine. There's nothing scripted. There's really nothing sinister about it, but it's kind of how I operate, because remember that my mission, right, is to get people to stop use the dimmer switches on their life, right? And it actually really is my mission. That's not some corporate thing, because I see so many people. So the warning label on this is I'm gonna, if you're really listening and taking this on board, I'm gonna make you a little uncomfortable in the process, okay? Because our friend Tony Robbins once said to me, and I think we were in Dubai at the time, and he saw that I was comfortably in the middle. I was operating kind of like in the middle. I wasn't. I I I was I was pretty good at what I did, but I was actually still running in my comfort zone. And he said, you know what? Your quality of life is directly proportional to the amount of discomfort that you can live with, right? And that's really where I coined and came up with another napkin idea, okay? Where and I have the napkin somewhere. I can pull it out, because you have this tremendous potential. But here's where we operate. This is our comfort zone. And people kind of push a little bit here and they push a little bit here, and then slowly, we can expand that. But the real push is in your zone of discomfort. And it really struck a chord with me that I need to get uncomfortable. So I'm going to do a really quick little, because everything I think in life should start with a little baby story, okay? So this is not some like whole thing about my whole life, but it was really like the evolution of where Laura Louise and I made a decision to stop essentially managing other people's money, right? Now, this is a great gig we had at the time, because you're managing billions of dollars for mostly sovereign wealth funds, big family offices, like serious players. And I just thought, you know what? Number one, I don't think I'm very good at managing the money. Um, I'm okay. It's not my zone of genius. I've just, assembled it into probably a zone of competence. But if you've ever read that book, Good to Great, you know what got you here is not what you need to do to take you to the next level. And I realized I was bored of this, and I didn't even like the clients. And I felt at the time that we were exporting all of our best investment opportunities to essentially, Middle Eastern sovereign wealth funds and places like that really actually would be quite happy watching our destruction. And I got very kind of patriotic in the process, and whatever. Anyway, I kind of said done with that. So I tripped into this strategy advisory business, because we have the Rolodex from heaven. And all of these people would like call us up and go, hey, guys, I'm trying to build this like investment bank. I'm trying to build this thing, and so on. Can you help me? And of course, I'm like, yeah, sure. And I don't mind. I won't show you because it's distracting today. But I had like one product that was linked to Stripe, and that was a consulting fee of 22,500, and it was just literally totally random, because I thought, okay, that's what I'll get out of bed for. And people kind of like paid it. And in the beginning, we started out with basically advising fund managers, or basically people in the wealth, in the asset collection management type business. And as it grew, I had this like breakthrough. I'm like, this is not about the funds at all. It's the business and its founder and the CEO. And like 90% of what we do has nothing to do with the what, right? And that's where, that whole thing came from, right? Which you've seen me do before, right? The who to, the why, the how, which is that, and here, down here is a little what, okay? And that's where it really struck me that second you start talking about your what, the second you make it about your product, the second you make it about that, you've already lost because you're now back in that zone, and that's not where the genius lies, right? So we started essentially advising others and entrepreneurs and stopped basically, making it all about funds. We changed the name from Global Fund Advisors to the Magnum Vault, and really kind of changed. And we we had all sorts of interesting clients. Obviously, investment bankers, but like guys that were building like big CBD businesses, real estate guys, roll up guys. I mean, all sorts of interesting things, right? And then I kind of got this next irritation because, as you see, I'm always iterating, right? And I realized I'm basically saying the same shit every day for 70% of the content. And I'm wasting so much time. Why don't I just record all this stuff and send it to them up front before we have a meeting? Because then we can get into the stuff that I really want to do, which is my zone of genius, Rubik's Cube with your mind and your business, and get them on the same color scheme, right? So then I recorded this, and then what was essentially the start of a Kajabi course. I recorded these modules, and it became a product called the Rocket Fund Launcher. And it was actually really good. I mean, I watched it the other day, and I cringe a little bit because it's like, I'm Unric and it's in a jacket. Yeah, I mean, very, straightforward talk, and I'm cringe on it because the real Unric is right here in front of you today, okay? And the guy who's being all corporate-y, that's not me. Anyway, it went really well. Product cost at the time like $11,000-12,000, super reasonable. People would like buy it, and we had a couple of hundred people through it, and we had this interesting thing because once they went through it, I kind of never heard from them again. I heard from, I'd say 1 in 10 people who kind of stayed in the universe and, did more stuff with us. So Laura, Louise and I, we actually went through and we did a full audit one weekend of everyone who'd been in it, and went and had a look at them and reconnected them and called them. And it was a horrifying experience. I really have to admit that, because we realized that about 50% of the people literally lost momentum about a month after they finished the course. And then about 80% of them reverted back to their old ways by like month 4. And I kid you not, that was actually a real like crisis moment. I think the resistance got me so hard at that point because I'm like, oh, what the hell am I doing? And I really just felt like a total failure. And luckily, I spoke to a couple of them, and they're like, no. It's me. It's not you. And it unleashed such a fire in me, because I'm like, yeah, it's not you. It's actually me. I gave you the thing to let you fail. I gave you the stuff. I gave you all the info, and then I thought, okay, yeah, we can't do it. 1 second, I got somebody trying to get in here. Yeah. No, if people can't be on time, I got no time for it. So, I'm like Bart. I'm like front of the bus. I am there. I'm always early. So the iteration kind of came from the inside, where I'm like, okay, so why is this thing failing? And I'm like, okay, because people aren't doing it. So I iterated the thing a little bit, right? So what I basically did then is I created like module 1. Oh, drawing the wrong thing. Module 1, and then the next week we did a Q&A or an implementation call, module 2, Q&A, module 3, and so on. So basically, they got the course, they got the digital content, and then the week after that, once they hit complete, they could join the call, and we got much better result. Yeah, but here's the thing: it just got so difficult. You know, when you're dealing with busy people, most people have built their businesses into a prison. They are so captured by all of the stuff. And if you realize, if you ever audit your own business and your own time, about 80%, 90% of your time is wasted on stuff that's not your zone of genius stuff. You're working in your business, you're not working on your business. You cannot read your label. Shout out to my mentors who have introduced me to the live events business. That's how I met Marie, actually. And it really just like really kind of shook me a little bit on that thing, because then I'm like, I need to like evolve this whole thing. And when you give people digital content, it ends up basically being shelf help. Like 1 out of 10 people take the stuff and do something really, really worth it with it. And that's really how the Crushingit event kind of came to be, because at that point we created something called the Magnum Accelerator Program. That's Dan was in that, and we really started getting results by this kind of live training. And then I really drew the map out completely, because I got to this kind of mode. It's like, why are we taking a year to do something that can be done in 6 months? Hang on. Why are we taking 6 months for something that can be done in 6 weeks? Like seriously, like duh. We can do this in 6 weeks. So that was the first ramp up boot camp. And it ran incredibly well. Terribly exhausting, because obviously we didn't throw 6 things at it. We threw like 18 at it and so on. And then we kind of realized it needs a little more at the end to kind of help land the plane. We got people to the kind of 80, 90%. So that's kind of where we expanded it, made it 8 modules, really changed the layout of the Q&A that we needed to actually adapt some of the content based on who's in the room and so on. So I want to draw you out my through line, okay, of the Crushingit event and the ramp up thing. And now that you've been in it, you'll actually see what I'm doing, okay? And I hope that this will really, really help you, because I'm going to address it not from my perspective, but from the person that's in it. Because if you're building machines that only benefit you, their life is going to be short-lived. But if you're building the machine to really guarantee the transformation of your client, of your investor, of your partner, and you start there, the money will follow, and it will be so much easier to deliver. You saw me at Crushingit on very little sleep, multiple events, huge tech industry things. I could do another Crushingit today and do it better than I did last week, because it's genuine. It's my zone of genius. I'm in there, right? So I want to draw you the picture real quick, because you saw me drawing the profit through line on day 3 of Crushingit, right? And it was kind of from the business owner's perspective, but not from the client's perspective. So Crushingit goes right here, okay? Day 1, day 2, if that makes sense, right? Feels like it was last week, but this was essentially what is Crushingit. Now, by the way, most people, and Marie will know this because she's had some of the same training that we have. They will use a 3-day live event essentially as a fulfillment event, as a sales event. It's like you're herding all your people into this event, and then you're going to hit them with like 30% content and 70% upgrade. I flipped that around completely, because to me, this is a rocket. I'm trying to get people to take off, right? I'm trying to get them up there to absolutely take off. Now remember, this has nothing to do with my profit pyramid. This is the transformation pyramid. How do I get people the results? So we kind of changed it. The first time I did it, I did not 100% content. I did like 330% content. Because I forgot about Laura Louise, and she has really, really great contributions and content and stuff. So I did 100%. She did 100%. So that's 200%. And there was like there wasn't even 1% left to do any kind of invitation for the next thing. So I said, go to rampup.vip and knock yourself out. And people did. I'm like, oh God, like, I did that so badly. But crushing it is essentially, you've got to think of this as the three Raptor engines that are driving this whole spaceship, right? Strategy, story, systems, right? They run through all of this. So from there, I'm like, okay, so how do we now take this deeper? What we've basically done is introduce everybody, blown some brains out, but I've created these boxes, these things where you can now go and put things in. But here's the problem. 1 in 10 people will take that information and they will go and DIY it and actually get the results. And I tell you, I am not ready to have another crisis and have people fail. So I'm like, I'm going to make this so freaking hard for people to fail. And I'm going to make it so easy so that they get the results. Because it would kill me to meet anybody 6 months later and go, Jesus, that dude is still where he was, right? And so that's where this whole thing kind of came from. So I'm like, okay, so we're going to take Crushing It, and we're now going to create these 8 modules. Now, I can't count early in the morning, but I think you get the idea. So these are essentially the mastery days, right? That is kind of like 80% teaching, 20%, doing together. And then how do we make that even, how do we now implement that? And we used to wait until the end and we're like, no. We're going to basically every day, every week, a couple of days after these mastery days, we're going to have these Q&A implementation days. And they're basically open office hours. They are not in the studio. I'm at my desk. I've got my headphones. Laura Louise is at hers. And whoever shows up gets the biggest results. And we've noticed that was all the difference. That is literally the best thing that we can do, that we can deliver, because we're on a Tuesday, we're basically going through the building blocks. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. This is how you do it. And then we go, okay, now go and do this thing. And then on Friday, at that point, so we keep not only the momentum going, but we basically force the system to like implement it. And then on the top of that, we aim for 3, but it's normally 5, like special events, special components, which we bring from our armory, and we have a very big armory, to what this particular audience needs best that will serve them at that time. So we tweak that, we fine tune that. And then at the top here, we actually don't let anybody get away with anything. Because at the top, we've got A and B. A is a full strategy, story, systems audit. We actually go through and we see, okay, what have you built? What have you done? What needs fixing? Who do you need? Who can we introduce you to? Bam, bam, bam. And then on B, we do a 30-minute podcast style interview where we pull this out of you. We pull the story. We pull the final story out of you. By the way, the story is never final, but there are evolutions in this whole thing. And I tell you, this has worked out so well because you don't let people fade. You don't let people revert. You've got this like 8-week plan, okay? And it is literally the very best way that we can take knowledge that we gave you at Crushing It, build on that, build on that, build on that, build on that, fine-tune it, fine-tune it, fine-tune it, fine-tune it. And literally, in the process, we have created a rocket that takes you off. So do you see the difference in this versus some digital content, some course? Because the real danger that we have in all of that is that you have people that are just sitting and they have this unfulfilled potential in their lives, and it is criminal to watch. Right? Laura Louise and I, we were talking about it actually after the church service last night, and it was really a touching moment for for both of us. And I'm going to ask her to tell the story because I think I don't want to, you know, not do it justice. Laura Louise, are you here in the room? I can't unmute you. Oh, she's going to come down. Let her come down here. Yeah, that's much better. That is much better because I got coffee. So do you see the difference between a sales pitch, what is essentially an enrollment event, and something that is step one of your journey that literally allows me to help you, help me, help you, help me, take it to the next level, take it to the next level, take it to the next level. Yeah, I mean, so, ta-da! Laura Louise has arrived. Laura Louise has arrived.
Good morning, everybody.
Yeah, we've got to get Laura Louise her.
Happy Easter weekend if you're celebrating, and thanks for tuning in. I know it's a busy time for people who have Easter weekend. So yesterday,
no, I wanted to just bring you in for that real bit because we actually had a really good, powerful moment on that. But I just wanted to open up the help room real quickly because I've got a few text messages of people that want to go in there. Okay, 1 second.
Yeah. So last night was our Good Friday, and for all Christians, it's quite a solemn day. And so we always go to service on Good Friday, and it was a really interesting service. It was a service we hadn't been to before, and they did something really unique. And it kind of led me back to my father and the stories he used to tell me, like when I was growing up. And he said, honey, everyone has a cross to carry in life. Everyone has stress. Everyone has problems. Everyone has these insurmountable things that we need to work through to get through. And one of the exercises that they did is they had this really incredible rough-hewn life-size cross, and they gave us each a nail. And in the beginning of the service, he says, I really want you to think about this nail as we go through this Good Friday service, and think about the pain and the intention and how you have this cross and how Jesus carried the cross, but we all have these crosses that we're carrying through our lives. And, something that's heavy, something that's on your heart, something that you haven't been able to let go of. Maybe it's, for some people, it's forgiving yourself. For some people, it's identifying the thing that's holding you back or holding you down. For some people, it's forgiving other people. But he asked us to think about it. At the end of the service, we were given a piece of paper and this nail, and we had to go up to the cross and put it on the cross. And it is emotional because it's like you're identifying something that's really heavy with you, and you're leaving it on the cross. And you could tell that people were really moved by it. They really thought about it, and it was just this, very visceral moment where you're not just coming to pay your respects to the solemnity of this moment, of this day, of this person who sacrificed so much for mankind, but also thinking that, it's true. We carry these things in our lives with us. And he said, what is that heavy thing that you're carrying? And I really gave it a lot of thought because, listen, we're all human. We all sin. We all make big mistakes, and we all have regrets. And I always said, better to have remorse than regret, right? And I talked about that a little. And I really feel that way because remorse is something you could say, oh, well, I didn't do that quite right, or that was a bad decision. But when you don't make this decision, you have this incredible regret. So during the service, I was thinking about what it was. And it really just came so clear to me, like if I had to really put down the weight of what I was carrying, it comes back to my purpose in life, which is to help myself and others to realize the abundance of our gifts, which are also our blessings, depending on what your belief system is. For me, it's blessings. And through those, gifts and blessings, to step into your greatness, to, manifest your destiny, to get to goal, to get to your purpose. And so the thing that weighs me down the heaviest, and as I get older, am in pursuit of things, is that I haven't lived up to my potential, that I haven't stepped into the places that hold me back, and the places that, I know that I'm made for more. I know that I'm capable of more, and I know I'm playing small. And that's what I nailed on the cross, really. It's just like to leave that behind, to leave that weight behind and step into a place of, of power for myself and for the people I serve. Because you don't just step into your greatness for yourself. You don't just live your purpose for yourself. It's all the people you serve in life. It's the in honor of your family and your parents who brought you to this place. It's for your family and your spouse to lift them up and give them the best life because you're giving the best of yourself. It's for your children and your legacy, right? It's for your peer group. It's for the people you serve. And this is such an important thing. And, it brought me back to really the defining moment where I knew that no more. I'd been on this mission for a long time. I'd say probably at least 20 to 25 years of realizing that I needed to pivot, that I was meant for more, that I had to step into my purpose, that I had a calling, and that I was supposed to do something, and ignoring it wasn't just disrespecting myself and lying to myself, but doing that to everyone else in my life. And my dad passed away in 2015 very unexpectedly. Anrik and I were in Mexico. I had spoken to him on the way to the airport, and he had just retired only 1 year. He was 71 years old, and he, was actually getting on a plane the following day to go and be with my youngest son at his football dinner, which just gave him so much joy to be part of their lives and everything. And he was getting ready to go play golf at his favorite golf course right after he went to church with my mother. And he was getting up, and his eyes rolled back in his head, and he was gone. And none of us ever expected it. We were planning on having our home. We hadn't moved to Florida yet. We planning on having a home in Florida so I could have Sunday dinners with my parents. And, for those of you who don't know me, I was very close with my family. I stayed very close to them because of my brother and wanting to be a good support system to them. And so my whole life, when my parents moved to Florida, they would come and stay with us for a month during Christmas. They would come for like a week during Thanksgiving, and they would come for 3 months during the summer because it was so hot down there, and they were from New York.
And
so
they came to our house in Italy. They came to our house in Colorado.
Colorado
They
all
were
the
just
time.
this integral, unlike my family. They were this like totally integral part of everything that we did. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, he was just, we had wanted to even take it closer because as my parents were getting older, I was thinking, oh, it'd be so great to have Sunday dinner with them every Sunday and, really take it to the next level. And then he was gone. But what struck me was that my father was this incredible man who had actually sacrificed so much to give my brother to move to the places that my brother could thrive, into the best school districts with the best training. He became a member. He was on the board of the Rosemary Kennedy Center, where my brother went to school, which was the finest place that you could be educated for young people. He spearheaded programs to get Down syndrome people into the workforce. And my brother worked for 20 years in our local school district in the elementary school, where people used to call him Mr. Michael Angel. He had all these cute little things. And, and Michael was really always like the star of the show. I mean, and my parents did such an amazing job, but there was a lot of sacrifice that came with serving at that level too. And my father was an amazing writer, an amazing entrepreneur. And I remember him turning down things and opportunities that were a little risky or might have taken him away from the place that he could serve, his family at the highest level. So when he retired, we had this big retirement party for him, and we sent them on this beautiful cruise. And we bought him all this stuff because he was so eloquent. He was an amazing writer. In fact, he wrote one of the readings for our wedding. That was his words. It's just absolutely beautiful. And so we bought him all these writing things.
People
And
were literally crying and they didn't have napkins, so they were drying their eyes with all the rose petals that were flown in from Peru or something.
yeah, and yeah, so he had this big plan. He was going to write this thing, and he was, he was so excited. He was so joyful. He was so full of life, and then he was gone. And I mean, to say that it hit us hard was an absolute understatement because it was so unexpected, and he was so young and he was healthy. But more importantly, the heartbreak for me was that my dad never got to step into that place that he always planned to. He never like fulfilled that purpose that he was made for these words to be out there. He was made for a story to be out there. He was just had these incredible stories and experiences, and he did incredible things, and he never got to step into that place that was his. And so after that, I really, that life and business on your terms really came to play. And it really became just so evident to me that, we are all meant for more. And so often we wait so long, to be in that place. And we suppress our greatness in the midst of being busy, in the midst of serving others, in the midst of doing things, that we think are good things, but they're not honest to ourselves. They're not truthful to ourselves. Because the truth is, we're meant to be lions, right? Not sheep. We're supposed to be the warriors, not the worriers. We're supposed to be the forceful, not the fearful, right? And, we're meant to rise to the level of our faith, not fall to the level of our fears. And, I think that's the slowest and most painful walk of death that there is. And for me, I just had this driving desire to, start putting it on steroids. And so you have all of these things that you start planning for. And, the pursuit of a goal and and your purpose and your greatness, right? But unfortunately, 95% of people, they live what I call the one day strategy. Like one day when I have the time, one day when I have the energy, one day when I have the money, one day when I'm better, when I've got myself ready, one day when I got my stuff together, one day when I'm prepared, right? One day that never comes. Instead of one of my mantras, and if you watch any of my posts, you see I hashtag win the day all the time. In fact, several of my clients have adopted it into their business mantra, into the way they run their business. The one day is, that place in the future. Your past, if we're focused on our past, and we talked a little bit about this, right? The past is gone. But if we're looking at life through the rear view mirror, we're going to crash. But likewise, the future, well, no one knows what's going to happen there. No one knew that my dad wasn't going to be there the next day to go to that football dinner, right? And the future is, is this place where the one day lives. But the present, that's the gift. That is the gift. They call it the present because it's the gift. You have the moment right now to win the day, to take life and make it your own, to actually bring forth the things that are, being caged in yourself that you can unleash. And we all have them. We all have them. And I have this list of things. At the back of every notebook, I write my ideas. So if I'm in the middle of doing something and I'm writing, and I write a lot of my strategies, I write a lot of the things that I'm talking about, or presentations or new ideas, and I'm researching every day. I'm always learning. It's like my passion is to say, how do I bring something new, something better, something fresh, right, to my clients, to my peers, to my community. But in the back of the notebook, I write my ideas, what I got to do, like the books that I'm writing. And there's not like one or two, there's actually quite a few. And I've done all the research on it, and I've done it, but I haven't stepped into that place, and it's only in the present that we can do that. It's only in that win the day mentality that we can actually do that, and I think that it's really the one thing that in that moment where I was nailing that thing, I said, you've got to now take it to the next level again. During the period after my dad, we had a 4 or 5 years before COVID hit. And then a lot of people shut down their dreams during COVID. A lot of people pivoted to, like Dan had said yesterday, like that safe space, that risk-free space, that environment that'll get you where you're going, where you can tread water and you're not going to like go under. Some people did go under, by the way, and then, you know, your whole effort is getting back to the air, to the water, the top of the water. But a lot of us, we spend our lives treading water. We spend our lives saying, I'm going to tread water and wait until one day when I can now like do it. But that one day never comes. And there are more people that I work with, and you'll see on WeWork, you'll see there's people that are in their 40s, in their 50s, in their 60s, and in their 70s. And God bless those people in their 70s because they know they're going to be here for another decade. And why wait, right? What, you know, one day is, we don't know. None of us know. But when you get older, towards the end of your life, you really know that it's not going on forever. I mean, you know, humanity
We have a client in our
is fatal. Yeah, we have a client in our 80s. Yeah, that's right.
And he's crushing
And
it.
he is, yeah. And he comes with such energy. And by the way, it keeps them enrolled. It keeps them energetic. It keeps them going because they have a purpose. When you're pursuing your purpose, you're on fire. You know, and I think if you're focused on the future, but you're not taking action in the present, the future is not going to happen the way you want it to. It's going to unfold the way it wants to, right? So, you know, I always think about why humans are the top of the food chain. And people think it's because we're the smartest. And it's not the reason why we're at the top of the food chain. It's certainly not because we're the strongest, because we are certainly not the strongest. But I think the reason we're at the top of the food chain is because we have the ability to take action on a goal into the future. In this moment, we can take action that is going to propel us to the future that we want. You know, animals live in fight or flight, right? And guess what? So do humans. You know, fear or flop, like fight or flight. We live there because we don't have that, you know, awakening to say, I can win the day. I have the power to control where I'm going. I have that. That's why we're at the top of the food chain, because we can make a plan today and start executing it in baby steps every day and get there on a dime. And if you ever read the book, 10x is easier than 2x, I love this book because it's so true. Every single time I have a big goal that's like so outlandish and so crazy, I get there. You know why? Because it's so inspiring. It's so, you know, it propels me forward. It gets me to that place. You know, having that macro strategy and you know you're going someplace. But when I have a little goal, like, you know, a 2x goal, well, guess what? It's not even inspiring me. So how do I inspire other people, right? So, you know, during this time when you guys are here with us, and we love having you here with us, and we love seeing you guys light up and in the chat and taking things to your next level, you know, realize that you have the momentum right now, the inertia right now to like win the day, to not like say, okay, well, I'm going to start that when, you know, one day when. You can start that and win the day starting today. And I think that's what this boot camp gets people. I have been in many environments, especially in the beginning when I started this journey in the late 80s and the 90s, where I was like, okay, you know, I've got some stuff. I can't really afford it. The truth is that I can never really afford it because there's always other things to do with our money. There's always, you know, places to put our money. I mean, I could buy a new watch, or, you know, I could go on a great vacation.
Yeah, neither of us need more watches.
But the truth is that if you actually stretch yourself, that's where all the magic happens. A 10x move is a stretch. A 2x move is a yawn. You know, it's like, all right, I'm going to I'm going to improve, but not too much. You know, I don't want to change too much. I'm going to tweak. Tweaking actually rarely gets you anywhere.
God, I wish I had a recording of this. I think this
It's so funny.
no, this statement of yours, Louise, I think it's such a powerful, you know, call to action for all of us, because people can feel it. And when you go and you start with your product, your solution, your company, your service, I think you've already lost. Because we as humans, the big players, the serious players, they connect as individuals. And then once the who and the why is established into the validation and the conversion story goes the how we're going to do this, but then the conversation changes because we're doing it together. Make sense? So do you see how the segue works? And the the little people, I call them, they have not figured this out. And so they keep going to
Because
that.
they're little because they play small.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the only reason anyone is little is because they play small.
And I used to be little too, but luckily I had so much friggin' energy that I could run through it like this bulldozer. I could run through it, through the rejection, through the iterations, all that stuff. But you know what? Jesus, man, I think I've wasted like 20, 30 years of my life just fighting instead of doing it like this. And that was my calling, where I'm like, you know what? I can't be managing these businesses and helping people to do this. So I'm going to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And luckily, I'd made enough money so that I could go, hey, I'm going to iterate like crazy until I get this right. And then at a certain point comes that crossover where people are like, take my money, and they throw it at you, you know what I mean? And then it's another problem. But anyway.
Well, also, I mean, think about it. Your greatness
Yeah.
is the thing that people want to be around.
Yeah.
Your purpose, your mission, your inspiration, that's what draws people. I mean, I don't care if you're Elon Musk or Steven Spielberg or Jesus or Moses or Mohammed. It doesn't matter. It's their inspiration that actually gets you off the couch, that gets you to go, I'm with this guy, right? So, I think all of those things make such a huge difference. And we all are, trained to go, oh, let's put what we do here. Let's show them what our process is here, instead of having them follow your tribe and want to be a part of your greatness. Greatness stands out. You can feel it when you walk in a room, right? Yeah, like we'll go someplace and we'll walk away. We'll be in a room with hundreds of people, and both of us will notice the same person. Be like, that guy,
Yep.
that guy has it. He's got it. He's in the zone.
And-
he's inspiring. He's got a great blueprint, and he's serving. Yeah.
And we, like, small example, and I hope she won't mind us, throwing her under the bus.
We're not throwing her under the bus. We're lifting her onto the mount. It's a big difference.
All right. But, no, I mean, I remember the first time we met Marie in a group of, I don't know, what are there, 50 people there and all sorts of stuff. And it's so funny because there are the loud people that want all the attention, and there are the quiet people that sit in the back and never do anything. Then there are the people that haven't opened their mouth and they make your skin crawl, right? You know the type, right? It's just like you feel it. And then there are the people that are just like this breath of light, and they don't know why they're there. They don't know why they come to see you, come to talk to you, but it's like, boom, you know what I mean? You have this instantaneous connection where you know, hey, we're meant to go do things together. And you will find that our rooms, our cafes, our audiences are filled with people like that. Sometimes they don't know why they're there, but they have this like mission. I need to go do bigger. Sometimes they're very logical. They're like, I'm here to learn the things. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And about at step 6, they're like, oh my God, I have a confession. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then it comes. Sometimes
It's very rare
yeah.
we don't have someone with that are people that come into our boot camps don't
Yeah.
have breakthroughs, because they start to actually re-engage with their true self. And
Yeah.
remember, I talked about our true self is that person who's kicking it, who's
Yeah.
in the zone, who's
Yeah.
doing the things that are on their heart. That's your true self. And if you're not feeling that, and you're feeling like, and I see so many people, especially after COVID, that are feeling like sluggish, they're feeling like depressed, they're feeling that they just don't know the way forward. Well, they have caged up that true purpose, that true person, that true zone of genius, and they've allowed that other side to come in, that fear, that exhaustion, that overwhelm, and that's who's running the show. If that's who's running anyone's show, we are masters at getting them out of that, but also getting you out of the one day when. One day when is a kiss of death. It truly is. It is win the day is the way to go. It's like, and I told you I have a lot of mantras. There are so many more that we haven't even explored yet.
So I do think that it is time for us to segue to a little bit of questions. If anyone has any direct questions, and then a little bit of a show and tell of how this boot camp's actually going to kind of work, because the machinery of it all is ready. I mean, it's ready. This is I just picked Bart's dashboard, like you had the, oh, let me get out the way, like you had the Crushingit dashboard. Everything else is ready. Okay, with I gave you guys my sincere apology about all of the automation that sent you all of the emails. That was in the first time that I started creating my own automations. I'm much better at it now, but I forgot to turn those off. So as you guys were all signing up, it just flooded your emails. And thank God for Andrew. I owe you a debt of gratitude because you caught it about like halfway in it. So only, I think at that point only six of you got your inboxes destroyed, but the calendar has been created. It's a digital calendar that you click on. You can get to it from uh, right there from the dashboard. You see the blue button there, calendar, and that will actually put the entire ramp up calendars into your calendar, so you get the notifications, all that kind of stuff. But let us go and just have a quick look. I mean, I think everyone here except one or two of you have joined. So let's
There's a couple of people who wanted to come, like
yeah.
Robert, and I mean, actually, quite a few people. Lissa, that they're either with family
Yeah.
obligations this weekend or
Oh,
at a
and
wedding.
Dan sent a
And
message.
Dan,
Dan wants to record uh, a a testimonial for us, and he's like, you know what? Let's just do that separately, so I don't take away from the show, because once you give Dan the mic, you're not getting it back quickly. you know. So anyway, any questions here? I'm happy to unmute you guys. Seriously, this is open architecture. If you want to ask them privately, you just go from the dashboard to the I still have questions, and I'll be in the other room on all of that. If it's questions about the actual contents of the boot camp and how it's all going to work, we are here to answer those. If it's just a testimonial and a thank you and you want to run, you can do that too. But the only thing that I want to remind and kind of leave on that part before I mute myself is the 1 in 10 people that we know that kind of decide to DIY the stuff, they get results, and sometimes in like 2 years instead of 2 months. The dangerous part is this component, this stuff in the middle. You know what I mean? So I always say to people, and I urge you to do the same with your clients, with your team members, pick A or pick B. A, I'm all in, or B, no thank you, I'm going to DIY this thing. Do not sit in the middle. That middle is the dangerous part, because then you've committed to neither or, but you've actually made a decision. And the decision that you've made is actually to go stay in the middle and stay stuck and keep doing nothing and keep procrastinating and keep kicking the can down the road. You're better off saying, no, I'm not going to do it, or yay, I'm all in. So that is my big ask. Make that decision. Most of you guys have already done the I'm all in. I'm not going to call you out if you haven't done it, but I wanted to thank you and congratulate you on all of that. Laura Louise is going to answer specific questions about the boot camp, when it starts, all that kind of stuff.
actually, I can answer specific questions on anything that
Yeah,
you want to know about the boot camp.
she really
Very
can.
multifaceted.
She really can, because the main guidelines are up on the web page behind us. Yeah, I mean. I'm going to go into the help room. If there's anybody that has questions, you can just from the dashboard go, I still have questions.
Okay.
That's open next door.